minutes. But on Breakfast with the Stars, we are joined by a star who's doing something so necessary. I first was reading through it and I was like, this is scary. It's scary, but it's super necessary. Her name is Angela Nyani, the country manager for Terda Home. And you've done quite an intensive research on something that people don't think about in Kenya when we're talking about being online, right? And first and foremost, good morning. Before we dive into the things that we're calling scary.
Good morning, Adele. Good morning, Shafi.
How are you doing?
To you too.
Very well.
Yeah, so it's really, really awesome to meet you because Shafi sent me, the brief yesterday of just your findings over the research that you've done in the 254. And I was like, what? I'm not a parent, but still, what?
Scary, very scary.
So we need to introduce this to Team Adele and Team Shafi, which is OCSE. It's not an exam, guys. Sounds quite like KCSE. It's online child sexual exploitation. Okay, so just in a brief, what exactly is that?
Well, child online sexual exploitation basically refers to a broad range of, exploitation and abuse that happens over the internet.
Yeah.
Basically, where children are concerned. Part of it also includes, children being online and performing sexual acts in front of a webcam.
Oh, man.
And that also, someone can use a phone because phones usually have cameras.
Yeah.
And so they get kids to perform sexual acts, and sometimes they can ask for payments for that.
Yeah.
Or, pay in kind.
Yeah.
In terms of, either provision of food.
Airtime.
Yeah.
Simple things, basically.
Yeah. And it's done just over the internet.
And that also includes recording and distribution of, pornographic material.
Yes.
Yeah, whether it's still or it's a video.
Yeah.
Or asking the child to, record themselves doing a sexual act and they distribute that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so the genesis of this, because it's 0 to 100 real quick. First, do you know what sites, like how do the kids get online onto what sites? The kids in Kenya.
Of course, there's a lot more, happening out there. But specifically in Kenya, when we did this assessment, research, basically the platforms that children go to are the regular social media, platforms like Facebook. Then there's also public chat rooms that are basically either, open, they have rules and regulations. And the interesting thing is that in as much as they have rules and regulations and they are for, children, you'll still find grown-ups there.
Yeah, and
so who's monitoring?
Pseudo accounts,
exactly.
Yes.
Oh, man.
Then, of course, there's the dating sites that are also open. So those are the three main platforms that children in Kenya are using.
Yeah, because then they can just go on, open an account, even if it says you have to be of a certain age, you just...
There's never confirmation.
Yeah.
As in there's no way they can confirm it.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of you just accepting whether you're lying or not, who will know.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. So I was going through the brief. The first thing that I came across, because there's from the various people that you spoke to, there's quotes from them. And one of the quotes that caught my attention was a young woman working in the community in Mombasa, right? Mm-hmm. She says, whereas girls used to be the ones most exploited, currently young boys are becoming increasingly involved. In Mtwapa, currently, young boys are the hot stuff.
Yeah. We can't talk about online child sexual exploitation without looking at,
both
general sexual exploitation, so to speak, not specifically narrowing down to online.
Yeah.
And so over the last couple of years, on sexual exploitation has mainly been, involving young girls, aged between 11 to 17, thereabout. But increasingly, we're seeing, more and more boys engaged, especially in the coastal region. And so you cannot just say that it is girls who are, now at risk. Or,
everyone,
involved. Boys are also equally at risk.
Man, okay, so the reason we think it's very important to have this conversation is, yes, we have members of Team Adele, Team Shafi who are actually young parents, but also you have younger sisters and younger brothers who you need to keep an eye out for. When we come back, more on the finding on OCSE, tongue twister there. But if you have any questions, do send those to us on Twitter or on Facebook. But right now, you're hanging out with Adele Onyango and Shafi Weru. Before we play you the remix Leg Over, we also have Angela Nyani in studio, just shedding more light on OCSE, which is the online child sexual exploitation. And there's a research that has been done by TDH, and that shows some alarming things that are happening in Kenya. I think people were a bit ignorant about what was going on in terms of children being online and just the risks that come with that. So I'm just going through some of the quotes in the brief, and I'm like, I'm not even a parent, but now I'm thinking, which young people do I know to check on? There's one here that says, and it's from a young woman working in community child protection in Mombasa. My aunt used to recruit young girls to perform live online sex acts in front of a webcam for overseas clients. Women brought their daughters over and over again until eventually these girls met the men in real life. Okay, and it goes on and on. But it's not just Mombasa.
It's not just Mombasa. I mean, one of the things that we're currently doing as you know, part of, you know, addressing this particular issue is looking at which major towns have, you know, good internet connectivity, you know, mobile phone use and accessibility, and now you can find cheap mobile phones with, you know, internet connectivity. So it's not just Mombasa. Anywhere where there is good internet connectivity, and most people have actually opened their homes and there's internet connection, you know, throughout. So it
cuts across.
Everywhere.
It cuts across.
It's just that, you know, some towns have been, you know, predisposed to sexual exploitation and, you know, prostitution early, based on the economic, you know, activities, so to speak.
That's what I wanted to talk about, because the vulnerability is not just because of somebody's age, right? So a child obviously is more vulnerable because they don't know as much as you and I, right?
Yes.
But it's not just the age. It's not just these, again, about, you know, the
other societal issues.
The family, the family doesn't have money.
Exactly. So economic situation that pushes kids.
Poverty.
Poverty basically. That pushes children out to go and fend for the family. And if this provides an opportunity for them to actually put a meal on the table, then they will do it. And they have done it actually.
Did you guys then talk to some children?
Yes, we did speak to some children, both in Nairobi and in Mombasa. And so some of the information that is in here, of course, is generated from, you know, feedback that they have given. But of course, we have to take into account the ethical issues of, you know, interviewing children.
Exactly, because the reason I ask is because while we were playing music, we talked about some parents, especially those from poor economic backgrounds, thinking that it's online, what's the worst that could happen, and we're making money for the family. So it does still affect the child.
It does still affect the child because, I mean, a child is a child. They haven't been, you know, they haven't fully developed to understand
yes, and to make decisions.
Exactly. Well, they can make decisions, but then understanding the consequences of those
of the actions,
decisions and the actions. You know, they will still need a bit of guidance, so to speak,
and protection.
But it still affects them, psychologically, emotionally, you know. And we have, you know, research showing that a child who's actually exposed to sex and sexuality, they have a very upside down view of, you know, what sexuality is. Is it equivalent to money, or therefore anyone giving me money, therefore I can, you know, engage in
it is like expected,
exactly. So they have a very upside down view if they're exposed to this.
Is there, because I love that there's data behind this, is there like a certain age group that is more
targeted?
Like we said, 11 to 17-year-olds, but sometimes the grooming begins a little bit early, at least based on what we have seen with the programs that we've been implementing in Turkana and in Kwale, looking at sexual exploitation. There are kids who actually get into it from about 9 to 10 years old.
Wow.
9 to 10.
Between 9 to 10. But of course, the age group that is more at risk is 11 to 17. But more so in terms of access to internet, about 15 to 17 are mostly at risk.
Yeah. Okay. So in the next 4 minutes, of course, we want to talk solutions because yes, the findings are like shocking, but it's something that is necessary to have. Hey, good morning, Delon Nyango and Shafi. We're with you. I have Drake's God's Plan coming up in the next 4 minutes, but we're hanging out with Angela Nyamu, who is here telling us about OCS, and it's basically the exploitation of children online. It's happening in Kenya, not just in Mombasa and Nairobi, but it is cutting across the board. And so happy the Team Adele, Team Shafi members are willing to, they're just asking questions on Twitter, Angela. They're just like, how do we help? How do we kick these guys off? Ismail is saying, how do we ensure that children are not sexually exploited online? What are some of the solutions that we can implement?
Okay.
Almost, especially in homes, because I think it's not just, Serkal's idea. You know what I mean? We also have to start from our homes, right?
Yes. Definitely. So one of the things, I mean, I have to say this though, in as much as online sexual exploitation affects all children, children from vulnerable backgrounds really are more at risk, and they actually do have access. So in as much as I, might provide some solutions, there's a lot more that needs to go into, ensuring that children from vulnerable backgrounds actually have more support, either from, if not from their parents directly, through organizations that are working with children, or through the government, the Child Protection, the Department of Children's Services, or through, interventions by CAK to ensure that the environment really is safe enough for children. Yeah. But back to, what can parents do back at home?
Yeah.
It is, monitoring what your child is actually doing online, or even the access to, an internet-enabled phone. A lot of parents have provided that for their children.
Yeah.
It's not bad because, children can actually be able to go online and research and,
and
do
learn.
research and learn quite a lot, I must say. But then you also need to put security measures that you know which sites your child is actually going to.
Yeah.
Again, regulate it. How many hours does your child
spend on the internet
and on the phone anyway? There are those simple things, and then there's of course, security.
Yeah.
What can actually my child access? If I can put, block some sites, then it means, at least you have some level of control in that. And then talk to your children.
Yeah.
The most basic thing. Tell them about the risks that are there online. Give them the good of the internet, the good side of the internet,
and the bad,
and the bad
as well. And don't sugarcoat it. I mean, there are people. FBI, I think, has shown that there are about 750 adults. 750,000. Yes. Adults on the internet looking to connect with children for the purposes of exploitation. So that's, So that is a reality that we must face. And the internet has no geographical boundaries.
Yeah.
Your child might be in Kenya, but they're chatting with someone
in Russia.
In Russia, for all you know. And you basically have to be aware of these things. And as a parent, go to some of these sites.
Because it changes every day.
Exactly. Yeah. And then talk to your children, because some of them are just struggling with, identity crisis or issues, Talk to them. Spend time with them.
What about, because I saw in the brief about cyber cafes, and I love that was part of it. Like, because if you talk about 11 to 17, definitely there's an age group going to.
They can definitely access a cyber cafe.
And there were cyber cafes that were saying that, hey, we don't block any sites. As long as you come here, you pay us, whatever you suffer is your business. That's another thing we need to regulate.
Yeah, that needs to be regulated, at least. Currently, it is not regulated. And, there's quite a lot that the Communications Authority has been doing in relation to online protection. And I'm really hoping that this is one of those, things that they will actually consider taking up. Of course, we also have the cybercrimes bill that is, before the House.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that some of this, will be pushed forward. Then we have a legal, framework that we can work with to address online, child sexual exploitation.
And culture. What's the correlation? Because somebody would be like, culture? Why culture? And we're talking about
culture and the internet.
I mean, the reason we go back to culture, of course, there's a place for culture in our, in the African society,
yes,
so to speak. There are things or practices that helped bring up a child in the African setup, where, a child was brought up, communally, for example, in terms of protection.
Yeah.
There's also, believe it or not, there are also some traditional courts that exist, so to speak. There are contradictions here and there. Sometimes some of those cultural practices could actually be harming children, but there's also the good side of it. So we try as much as possible to look at what are some of those cultural practices that would actually help us protect the children. Try and emphasize on those. There was a place of play for the children. How much time do we actually allocate for children to play right now? So, and learning through song and dance and things like that.
It's like in correlation. Putting down your mobile phone, putting down the tablet and going outside to play. Things like that.
And
which are not being done anymore.
Song and dance. Yes. That's actually true. Totally forgotten about that. So the brief that I have, and I'm loving everything that I'm finding as I go through it. You guys are going to launch it.
Yes.
On Thursday, you said?
On Thursday morning, we're going to launch the report as well as an advocacy brief that is basically highlighting, what is the problem, what are the solutions that we're proposing, and what is it that we're calling different actors to play, like the government, looking at the legal framework, looking at the infrastructure that exists with the Communications Authority of Kenya, the Cyber Crimes Unit, the Child Protection Unit under the DCI. Then we're also looking at the private sector, because the internet service providers also have a role to play.
True.
And they've also been doing quite a lot. So there are a couple of recommendations that we have there for all the actors, because this is not something that can be done by one
person.
That's
true.
There are very many players.
Exactly.
But where can Team Adele and Team Shafi after Thursday then get what we have?
Okay, so the report is actually going to be uploaded on our website. That's www.tdhnetherlands.org. So you can find the report there as well as the advocacy brief, and we'll be tweeting the hashtag for Thursday morning is hashtag cyber child safety. So people can go on Twitter and talk about it. Our tagline is "Let's kick OCSC out in 254."
Okay.
Yes.
Is there also a hotline? I saw something about a hotline.
I think the tagline should be "Let's kick OCSC out of 254."
Okay. We're saying kick it out in Kenya.
English.
Semantic works. Okay, but we all need to kick it out.
Definitely. We just want to get rid of it.
Exactly. So anyone who knows a child who's actually been exposed to online child sexual exploitation can call the national helpline, which is 116, that is hosted by Childline Kenya, who's also a partner of Terrorism, working on online protection with us.
That's 116.
116. That's the national helpline.
That's like a phone number. Cool.
Yes.
Okay, guys.
It's toll free and it's 24/7, and you will find someone to talk to.
Wow.
Even
guys.
children can call in.
And if you just share that number across your platforms, that would also help. If you're listening and you're wondering how to help, that would be a nice starting point to share. You never know what somebody following you or somebody in your circle of influence is going through. We're so happy, Angela, that you came through today, and I can't wait for the rest of Team Adele and Team Shafi after Thursday to be able to see all the findings, and then they can also see, okay, how